Shalom and blessings, warriors of Yahuwah and the truth. I'm going to continue on with spiritual captivity, how to tell your family. We are on video 10. Daniel 4. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of all peoples, Goyim, and languages that dwell in all the Eretz, or all the earth. Peace be increased to you. I thought it good to declare the signs and wonders which the highest one, Allah, has worked for me. How great are his signs, and how mighty his wonders. His reign is an everlasting reign, and his rulership is from generation to generation. Sorry about that. Praise Yah, there's a pause button. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house, and prospering in my palace. I saw a dream, and it frightened me, and the thoughts of my bed and the visions of my head alarmed me. So I issued a decree to bring in all the wise ones of Babel before me, to make known to me the interpretation of the dream. So the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the diviners came in, and I related the dream to them, but its interpretation they did not make known to me. And at last Daniel, whose name is Belshazzar, according to the name of my Allah, came before me. In him is the Ruach of the Kodesh Allah. So I related the dream to him, saying, Belshazzar, chief of the magicians, because I know that the Ruach of the Kodesh Allah is in you, and no secret is too difficult for you, explain to me the visions of my dream that I have seen and its interpretation. Now the visions of my head on my bed were there. I looked and saw a tree in the midst of the Eretz, and its height great. The tree became great and strong, and its height reached to the Shamayim, and it was visible to the ends of all the Eretz. Its leaves were lovely, and its fruit plenty, and in it was food for all. The beasts of the field found shade under it, and the birds of the Shamayim dwelt in its branches, and all flesh was fed from it. In the visions of my head on my bed, I looked and saw a watcher, even a Kodesh one, coming down from the Shamayim. He cried aloud and said this, hewn down the tree and cut off its branches, strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the beasts flee from under it and the birds from its branches. But leave the stump of its roots in the Eretz, even with a band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of the Shamayim, and let his portion be with the beasts of the grass of the Eretz. Let his heart be changed from man's, let him be given the heart of a beast, and 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the command by the word of the Kodesh ones, so that the living know that the highest one is ruler in the reign of men, and gives it to whomever he wishes, and sets over it the lowest of men. This dream have I seen, I, King Nebuchadnezzar, and you, Belteshazzar, reveal its interpretation, since all the wise ones of my reign are unable to make known to me the interpretation. But you are able to, for the Ruach of the Kodesh of Allah is in you. Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, was stunned for a short time, and his thoughts alarmed him. The king responded and said, Belshazzar, do not let the dreamer or its interpretation alarm you. Belshazzar answered and said, My Adonai, the dream is to those who hate you, and its interpretation to your enemies. The tree you saw, which came great and strong, whose height reached to the Shamayim, and was visible to all the Eretz, whose leaves were lovely, and its fruit plenty, and in it was food for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and on whose branches the birds of the Shamayim sat. It is you, O king, for you have become great and strong, and your greatness has grown, and has reached to the Shamayim, and your rulership to the ends of the Eretz. And as the king saw a watcher, even a Kodesh one, coming down from the Shamayim, and he said, Hewn down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump of its roots in the Eretz, even with a band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of the Shamayim, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, king, and this is the decree of the highest one, which has come upon my Adonai the king, that you are going to be driven away from men, and your dwelling be with the beasts of the field, and you be given grass to eat like oxen, and you be wetted with the dew of the Shamayim, and 7 times pass over you, till you know that the highest one is ruler in the reign of men, and that he gives it to whomever he wishes. And they that gave the command to leave the stump of its roots and of the tree, your reign remains yours. From the time you come to know that the Shamayim are ruling, therefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable to you, and break off your sins by obedience and your lawlessness by showing favor to the poor. Your prosperity might be extended. All this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of the 12 months, he was talking about the palace of the reign of Babel. The king spoke and said, It is not this great Babel which I myself have built, for the house of the reign, by the might of my power and for the esteem of my splendor? The word was still in the king's mouth when a voice fell from the Shamayim. King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the reign has been taken away from you, and you are driven away from men, and your dwelling is to be with the beasts of the field. You are given grass to eat like oxen, and 7 times shall pass over you, until you know that the highest one is ruler in the reign of men, and he gives it to whomever he wishes. In that hour the word was executed on Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and he ate grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the Shamayim, till his hair had grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws. And at the end of the Yomim, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up my eyes to the Shamayim, and my understanding returned to me. And I blessed the highest one, and praised and made him great, who lives forever, whose rule is an everlasting rule, and his reign is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the Eretz are of no account. And he does as he wishes with the host of the Shamayim, and among the inhabitants of the Eretz. And there is, and there is none to strike against his hand, or to say to him, what have you done? At the same time, my understanding returned to me, and for the preciousness of my reign, my esteem and splendor were returned to me. And my counselors and nobles sought me out, and I was reestablished in my reign, and excellent greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, am praising and exalting and esteeming the king of the Shamayim, for all his works are truth and his ways right, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble. I can take her, yeah. Okay, so we are on, my judge is Elohim, Daniel 5. Belshazzar the king made a great feast for 1,000 of his great men, and drank wine in the presence of the 1,000. While tasting the wine, Belshazzar gave orders to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the Hekal, which had been in Jerusalem, that the king and his great men, his wives, and his concubines could drink from them. Then they brought the gold vessels that had been taken from the Hekal of the house of Allah, which had been in Jerusalem, and the king and his great men, his wives, and his concubines drank out of them. They drank wine and praised the Elohim of gold and of silver, of bronze, of iron, of wood, and of stone. At that moment the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's color changed, and his thoughts alarmed him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened, and his knees knocked against each other. The king screamed loudly to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the diviners. The king spoke and said to the wise ones of Babel, Whoever reading this writing and shows me reads this writing and shows me its interpretation is robed in purple and has a chain of gold around his neck, and shall be the 3rd ruler in the reign. So all the king's wise ones came, but they were unable to read the writing. or to make known its interpretation to the king. Then King Belshazzar was greatly alarmed, and his color changed, and his great men were puzzled. The empress, because of the words of the king and his great men, came to the banquet hall. And the empress spoke and said, O king, live forever. Do not let your thoughts alarm you, nor let your color change. There is a man in your reign in whom is the Ruach of the Kodesh Allah, and in the Yomim of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the Elohim, were found in him. And King Nebuchadnezzar, your father the king, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and diviners. Because an excellent Ruach, knowledge and understanding, interpreting dreams and explaining riddles, and solving difficult problems were found in this Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Beltis protects, that means. Now let Daniel be called, and let him show the interpretation. So Daniel was brought in before the king. Roscoe, stop. The king spoke and said to Daniel, Are you that Daniel, who is one of the sons of the exile from Yehuda, whom my father the king brought from Yehuda? I have heard of you that the Ruach of Allah is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. And the wise ones, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known to me its interpretation. But they were unable to show the interpretation of the word. And I myself have heard of you, that you are able to give interpretation of the word. I myself have heard of you, that you are able to give interpretations and to solve difficult problems. Now, if you are able to read the writing and make known its interpretation to me, you are to be robed in purple, and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the reign. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, Let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I shall read the writings to the king, and make known the interpretation to him. King, the highest one, Allah, gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a reign and greatness and preciousness and esteem. And because which he gave him, all peoples, Goyim, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished he executed, and whomever he wished he kept alive. And whomever he wished he raised up, and whomever he wished he made low. But when his heart was lifted up, and his Ruach was so strong as to act proudly, he was put down from his throne of reign, and they took his preciousness from him. Then he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. He was given grass to eat like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the Shamayim, till he knew that the highest one, Allah, is ruler in the reign of men, and sets up over it whomever he wishes. And you, his son, Belshazzar, which means Bel protects, he was the last king of Babel, have not humbled your heart, although you knew all this, and you have lifted yourself against Adonai of the Shamayim. And they brought before you the vessels of his house, and you and your great men, your wives and your concubines, have been drinking wine from them. And you have praised the Elohim of silver and of gold, of bronze, of iron, of wood, and of stone, which neither see nor hear nor know. See nor hear nor know. But the Allah who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not made great. Then the part of the hand was sent from him, and his writing was inscribed. And this is the writing that was inscribed. Mene, mene, tekal, uparsin. This is the interpretation of each word. Mene, Allah has numbered your reign, and put an end to it. Tekal, you have been weighed on the scales and found lacking. Peres, your reign has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then Belshazzar gave orders, and they robed Daniel in purple and put a chain of gold around his neck, and they proclaimed concerning him that he is the third ruler in the reign. In the Layla, Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Mede took over the reign, being about 62 years old. Mina Mina Tekal Upartsin. Yeah. And next time I'll be reading some more of Daniel. And I think I'll be doing 6 through 8. And then 9 through 12 for the next lesson after that. I hope everyone has a blessed day. Yahuwah bless you and your families. I love you all. Shalom.